Hi everyone, it's Mo from Mo Goes, and I'm back again with another video. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at Port Everglades Cruise Port, ready to embark on another amazing cruise adventure. This is an 8-night Caribbean cruise with 3 ports of call: Grand Cayman Island, Aruba, and Curacao. And because it's such a long cruise, I'm breaking up my cruise coverage into multiple videos, so make sure you're subscribed and tap the bell notification. Ready? Let's go! Welcome to the Celebrity Reflection, Part 1. We love cruise excursions, and we had one booked for each port of call, and part 1 of this series will focus on each one. After a full and relaxing sea day on day 2, we woke up on day 3 to a beautiful sunrise in Grand Cayman Island. Because our cabin was starboard side, I was not able to see all of the port. Soon I realized that Grand Cayman Island does not have an actual cruise port, but a tender port. For those unaware, that just means that cruise passengers are transported on a smaller vessel from the cruise ship to the port. This was actually my very first time experiencing a tender port, so I made a big deal about it. This was awesome. And once we got seated on the lower deck, I was able to spot 2 other cruise ships anchored not too far away from us. One was Carnival, and I believe the other was Royal Caribbean. You can't really tell from this footage, but the water was really rough and it took a little while to load the tender boat. I wish I had been able to record it, but I promise you the ramp seemed like it was moving up and down 1.5 feet easily. Personally, I think a tender port is super cool because you get some really cool perspectives of your ship that you otherwise wouldn't had you gone to a regular dock. Look how pretty this is. Because there were 3 large cruise ships anchored, the dock was super busy with people lining up for their group excursions. It took a while for groups to assemble, but eventually we were paired up with our tour guides who led us to the buses. Our tour was called the Grand Cayman Historic Tour with Kelly Tours. We booked it directly through Celebrity Cruises. It was on a climate-controlled bus. It was about a 3-hour tour with multiple stops, but there were no stops for food.
My name is Robert. I'll be your tour operator for the next 12 hours.
Have you got lips?
Oh my goodness.
No, folks, my assistant right back there is Paul. Your assistant's like to have the tour, okay? No, folks, I'm only joking about the 12-hour shift, okay? Folks, when we drive out of here, we'll be driving on the left-hand side of the road. Do not get frightened. I am not drunk. Not yet, okay?
Our tour guide, Robert, was great. He was very friendly. He had a great personality, but I'll be honest, things took a very weird turn. He started to say some weird things and it kept going. Just listen in.
No, folks. Also today, we're going to visit my brother, okay? Anybody want to know who my brother is?
Yes.
My brother is the devil. And we're going to visit his where he stays all the time in hell. Today this bus is bound to meet my brother in hell, okay? No, don't be afraid of me, folks. I'm the good one, okay? I am not Lucifer. I'm Gabriel. We're going to meet Lucifer later on, okay? So you don't have to be afraid of me. And folks, although I'm the devil's brother, I do not lie, okay? And folks, anything I tell you, I can prove it to you by making you see it, okay? My motto is very simple. Seeing is believing, okay?
Robert kept up with this devil and going to hell stuff for about another minute or so, and then we got back to the tour. He showed us quite a few landmarks as we approached an area called 7 Mile Beach, which is in the section of West Bay. This tunnel is called the West Bay Tunnel, and after doing a little digging, it turns out that this tunnel has a controversial history. DART is a major developer and landowner here in the Grand Cayman Islands, and they are responsible for the tunnel expansion here, so you can read all about it and Google it yourself. Next, we saw the governor's house and a very famous condominium complex made famous by Tom Cruise in his movie The Firm back in 1993. Soon after, we saw the old homestead, which is the most photographed property in all of Grand Cayman. The first official stop of the tour was the West Bay Public Beach. This is a really beautiful beach, but we didn't have a lot of time. We only stayed maybe 15-20 minutes, so we only had time to take a few quick pictures, look around, and maybe use the restroom. This beach is very quiet and serene, so if you're looking for a really laid-back beach to hang out at, this is the place to be. We ran into the cutest family who agrees. We passed another popular tourist attraction, the Cayman Turtle Center. This attraction offers a variety of activities including swimming with the turtles, tours, and even snorkeling. This definitely sounds like the perfect attraction to check out while on vacation with the family. The second stop of the tour brought us to another popular attraction, the Tortuga Rum Distillery. Of course, being a popular stop on cruise tours, it was packed inside. There was a small selection of souvenirs, you can buy duty-free alcohol, and they also offered free samples of rum as well as rum cake. Although Tortuga sells a variety of rum and rum cake flavors, they only had one flavor of each to sample, and that was banana. So if you've seen my past video on a Taste of Nassau food tour, I said it then and I'll say it again. There is no other rum cake better than the Bahama Rum Cake Factory. So I'm only doing this just to give you guys other options if you happen to come to the Cayman Islands or any other island that may offer rum cakes. Taste it for yourself, don't take my word for it, but my personal opinion, best rum cake is from the Bahama Rum Cake Factory, hands down. Now what I'm ready to try is this Tortuga brand banana rum. Let's see what this tastes like. This is really nice. If you like banana flavor, you will love this. Tortuga banana rum. I think it was at this point that the tour started to drag a little bit, and there were a few reasons. One, the stops became far and few in between. There weren't many landmarks visually to look at, so we were driving on long, boring roads, and we just had to rely on Robert's voice to keep us entertained.
No, folks, the road that leads to hell in Grand Cayman, where my brothers stay, the government call that road Water Coast Road. I come up here to your right hand side. We're going to take a right hand turn here. And if you look on the right hand side of the bus, you see the roof sign that says Water Coast Road. Yeah. A green and white sign. Yeah. Yes. See what it says right there? Yes. Water Coast Road. Right. No, folks, we're headed to hell. You're going to go to hell today full bloom.
Robert kept pointing out this building because apparently it indicates that we have entered the area that he keeps referring to as hell.
Oh, folks, this is the old people's home over here to your left. And welcome to hell, Grand Cayman.
Finally, the big reveal, our third stop of the tour, Hell Grand Cayman. Located in the West Bay District, this area gets its name from the distinct and unusual limestone rock formations. We'll take a look at them in just a bit, but let's go inside the gift shop. With such a unique and familiar name, you could imagine all the cool merch you could create to sell. There's no food or snacks at this gift shop, but it's air conditioned, it's comfortable, and there are public restrooms. This is a popular stop for cruise tours, so keep in mind that Mondays through Thursdays are the busiest days for cruise tours at this gift shop. No matter where you go in the world, you'll always find people that want something for nothing. Check out this hilarious exchange.
Hi, how the hell are you?
How do we pay you?
How do you pay me with money? Credit card.
Your credit cards, right?
Credit cards or cash?
Cash?
Credit cards or cash.
Okay, I'll make a deal with you.
What the hell is
100% off,
that?
100% off the cash. You're gonna say, what the hell is that, right?
Really? Well,
And if you
you're
and if you
good.
get and if you cash, there's no admin money. You pay your credit card, $100 come out.
Not today, Bobo.
Of course, that gentleman ended up paying 100% of the sticker price, just like the rest of us. Just outside the gift shop, you'll find a platform that overlooks an area that's just about a half a football field wide, full of all those strange limestone formations that I mentioned earlier. We learned that these rocks were likely formed from past volcanic activity, and this entire area is protected by the government. Walking on it is prohibited. If you ever get to visit Hell Grand Cayman, you could literally tell people that you've been to hell and back, and you wouldn't be lying. Well, that was the last stop of the tour, and the drive back to the cruise port was long and boring, but we did get to see an interesting landmark, which was the Hyatt Regency Grand Cayman. It was destroyed in Hurricane Ivan back in 2005, I believe, and never redeveloped.
As they turn it around to you, you see it's green, right? Look when they turn it back around now. The wood to the sun, it looks silver, right? Okay. The stem right there is showing you now, moving up and down, as a stem 5. Now folks, that tree in the Cayman Islands, back in the olden days, we used to do a lot of things with that tree. Okay? We used to make old stops on that tree. We used to make shoes from that tree. We used to make, most of all, patch rope out of that tree.
Technically, this was the last stop of the tour, but we didn't exit the bus, and Robert just gave us a history on the Grand Cayman National Tree.
Anybody who can take this and break it, we can get $10,000.
The silver thatch tree has a reputation of being extremely versatile and durable, and Robert knew what he was doing by challenging us to try to break the leaves of this tree. It couldn't be done. A few people took a shot at it, but impossible. I was shocked to see this person actually try to use their teeth to break the leaves. For generations, the leaves of this plant have been used to make so many things like baskets, hats, and fans. It's a sustainable material that's actually still used to this day. We got back to the tender port in great time, where we were greeted with the cutest little luxuries like these cold towels and some really yummy refreshments. The water was just as rough as it was when we first got here, so it was a little bit of a challenge getting onto the tender boat. Overall, I think we enjoyed the tour, but the part that got to us was the long, drawn-out driving between stops. I think that part may need to be modified a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. Most of the guests ended up falling asleep towards the end, so keep this in mind if you're considering this tour when you cruise to Grand Cayman on Celebrity Reflection. On day 5, we cruised into Aruba during the late morning hours. Once again, I was not able to see the port from our cabin because we were located starboard side of the ship, but we had these gorgeous views of the ocean. Shallow aqua water, catamarans going back and forth, speedboats, sailboats. It was absolutely stunning. And the late debarkation gave us more than enough time to take it all in. Those who got started early at 11:30 were already headed back on the ship when we were just leaving the ship at 1:20. I'll be honest, Aruba's cruise port leaves much to be desired. There's nothing to write home about. It wasn't interesting at all. There didn't seem to be as many cruisers waiting to do tours as there were in Cayman Island, but for some reason it seemed to take a long time to get things organized. Eventually, they got things together and my group headed outside to meet our tour guide. This was the Aruba Historic Tour with De Palm Tours. We booked it again through Celebrity Cruises. This was a climate-controlled bus, 4 stops in 3.5 hours, and no scheduled food.
What was it, Diabo?
Yan talaga may baha. Hindi mo di para na pa may baha no. Media stop e traffico pa may baha.
What you just heard is Aruba's official language, Papiamento. It's a Creole language, which is a mix of African, Arawak Indian, Dutch, Portuguese, and Spanish.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the first place, I would like to welcome you all to the island of Aruba, and wonderful evening to afternoon to all of you. As you can see, we have just left our harbor, which is located in Oranjestad. Oranjestad, that is the capital of Aruba. Oranjestad is a Dutch word for orange town. That is the name that the Dutch put to our capital when they conquered our island centuries ago.
One of the first things I noticed when the tour got started were these unusual trees. I'd never seen trees like this before, and it turns out that these trees are native to the island of Aruba, and they're called the Quihi tree. To me, they reminded me very much of trees that I've seen in Africa, but to me it doesn't seem like a tree that you would find in the Caribbean. It doesn't look or feel tropical. Not too long after, I started to notice another unusual type of plant life. More on that a little bit later in the video. Along the way, we passed lots of beautiful resorts, sculptures, and a very popular landmark called the Aruba Butterfly Farm. This was not a scheduled stop for our tour, but you can find it on other tours in the area. This is definitely a really nice family-friendly attraction to check out if you're visiting Aruba. Eventually, we made our way to an area called Nord in Aruba to our very first stop of the tour, the California Lighthouse. This lighthouse is pretty striking and you can see it from a good distance. It's the tallest structure in Aruba, standing at 98 feet tall. It was named after the British steamship, the SS California, and you can actually climb to the very top of it. Sadly, we didn't stay long enough to do that. We only had about 20 minutes or so, but I did take in these gorgeous 360-degree views. Speaking of views, our tour guide stated that Faro Blanco restaurant has some of the best views of Aruba. And just basing that on what I'm seeing outside of the restaurant, I can believe it. If you plan to visit the California Lighthouse, make sure you understand that there are restrooms in the restaurant, but they will charge a small fee to use them. There's also a fee for admission into the lighthouse, so also keep that in mind. I really enjoyed seeing all the white, sandy beaches, but quickly that landscape changed to something completely different. Cactus is the last thing that I would expect to see in the Caribbean, but apparently it's very prevalent here, especially in Aruba. This particular species is called the dagger cactus, and it's pretty common to find cactus forests like this one in Aruba. We eventually made our way to the second stop of the tour, to the Aruba Aloe Factory and Museum Store. It's pretty ironic that this factory is dedicated to aloe when there was at no point in time that I saw any aloe growing wild anywhere in Aruba during the tour. Upon entering the building, you're directed into a self-guided tour, which gives you a brief history of the aloe plant. Then you're directed upstairs to an area where you have many windows that peer down into the processing areas where the aloe products are actually made. That's where we met up with our tour guide, who gave us lots of detailed information about what they do at the plant and how the aloe plant is harvested, processed, and all those really cool details that you may otherwise not have known. Of course, the aloe plant has lots of medicinal properties, and our tour guide showed us some products that are made here from their medicinal line.
Guys, these two products plus the white tools that we have is the only medical creams that we have that you guys can use for medical treatment. Now, once you guys are gonna see the white tools, just know the only difference with them, they are just for one specific problem, that is about them. We have one for berry, itchy skin, cracked skin, and also eczema. These two, it is a little bit different. The tiny one that you guys can see with the SPF, it is much more if you have any sun allergy. Also, you guys can use it as a sunscreen. With this one, if you guys do sweat a lot like me, because I do sweat a lot, I would use it every 2 hours. The bigger one that you guys can see without the SPF, it is much more multi-use, meaning it does help with any scars, surgical scars, stretch marks, ambrosia, psoriasis, eczema, cracked skin, acne, bug bites, inflammation, rashes, patches, dry skin, typically any skin problem that you guys might imagine, but also chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and second and third degree burn.
Eventually, we made our way down to the sales floor where we found all the products that our tour guide talked about and then some. Bath salts, lotion, shower gel, shampoo, soap, you name it. Sunscreens, there were all kinds of products available, all made from the aloe plant. And the really cool part was that many of them were packaged together in cute little bundles, so you could even pick up something as a gift for someone else. Now, I'm no stranger to the aloe plant. I grew up with this plant, but this was still a very cool experience. After that, we passed a couple more interesting landmarks. One was an ostrich farm and the other was a horse ranch. Neither were on this tour, but according to the tour guide, they're definitely worth checking out. You can clearly see the water and the coastline, but it's just so strange to me to see this desert landscape right next to the coast, and far from my idea of a Caribbean landscape. On the way to our next stop, we passed a large group on a desert and beach ATV tour. And according to our guide, those ATVs were likely making their way clear across the desert landscape, way to the top of that mountain you see in the distance. Not too far away was our third stop, the Natural Bridge. First, we made our way inside the gift shop for a little creature comforts and browsing all the cool merch. This was the only stop during the tour that had actual food, and it wasn't anything major. It was just, street food, hot dogs, burgers, nachos. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Papiamento is the official language of the ABC Islands, and they also had signs posted up near the front of the gift shop where you could learn a little bit of Papiamento yourself. If you're familiar with any of the Papiamento mixed languages, you can clearly tell which words come from which language. Aruba is most known for two famous bridges. One is the Son of Natural Bridge, or the Baby Bridge, as well as the Mother Bridge. Now, the Mother Bridge is off in the distance. It has since collapsed. It actually collapsed on September 2nd of 2005 after a hurricane. I can't remember which one, but I want to say it was Ivan. That bridge no longer stands. Nothing has been done with the area. It's just a large, expansive gap over about 100 feet or so, but this one is still intact. I noticed lots of signage posted warning not to walk out onto the Natural Bridge area. So if you plan on visiting the Natural Bridge while in Aruba, keep that in mind, but just know that you're going to see some beautiful landscapes and it's all picture perfect. Back on the bus, we learned something else very interesting about Aruba. Aruba has an abundance of cashew trees, and this is what a cashew fruit looks like. And you can see the actual cashew nut still attached to the top of the fruit. Did you know that cashews grew this way? Our fourth and final stop of the tour brought us to the Casiabari Rock Formation. This is actually a residential area that's just off the main road to the town of Santa Cruz, and these are huge tonalite boulders that are just there. It's considered a natural wonder, and it's said to have possibly been there for thousands of years. It's definitely an eye-catcher as it brings such a drastic change to the relatively flat landscape. Climb to the very top for beautiful 360-degree views. If you're adventurous, that is.
I ain't doing all that. Now that's about as far as I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm not going up there. Yeah, we're not going in that little cave. We're not going to the top. I've seen enough.
Yeah, hiking through mountains and rock formations and narrow cave corridors, that's not my thing. I'll stick to capturing amazing footage and pictures so that I can make videos for you guys to enjoy. I'm so intrigued at how vastly different the vegetation and topography of all the different Caribbean island nations can be from each other. This is just a fascinating landscape to me. Back on the bus, we learned a little about Aruba medical care.
You don't have to pay a dime out of pocket. You can go to any specialist. You don't have to pay. If you have to, you must be hospitalized. Everything will be paid for. If you have to go undergo surgery, everything will be paid for. And if you have some serious health issue, something that cannot be treated in Aruba, then they will send you to Bogota, Colombia, or to Las Vegas. No, I made a mistake. No, you will be sent to Houston, Texas, not Las Vegas, Houston, Texas. Yeah, especially if you have a serious heart issue, you know, if you have to undergo open heart surgery and stuff like that, you will be sent to Houston, Texas, or everything will be paid for. Your ticket will be paid for, the operation will be paid for, all the time you spend there will be paid for, and they will pay for a family member to go with you, to be with you all the time, especially you know, after operation, during your recovery, you need someone to be with you. So they will pay for the hotel, they will pay for somebody to be with you all the time. And 6.1% of your monthly income will be deducted to cover that medical insurance.
All I can say is wow, fascinating info. Although it was just a few short hours, we had a great day in Aruba on our excursion. We got back to the ship, relaxed, and got prepared for another full day on a brand new island. The days were moving by so fast. It was already day 6, but we woke up early, excited to get the day started for another great excursion in our last port of call of the trip, Curacao. Once off the ship, we met up with our tour guide to get checked in. This excursion was the Curacao Historic Tour with Atlantis Adventures. Just like the last 2 excursions, this one was also booked directly through Celebrity Cruises. We were on a climate-controlled bus, 4 hours, 4 stops, no scheduled food stops. The check-in process for this excursion was the smoothest of the 3, and we were on the bus, getting the tour started in no time.
Welcome everyone to Curacao. That's how we pronounce the name of the island. Yes, thank you. Let me begin with introducing ourselves. My colleague driver, Raif.
Morning!
Raif! And our driver is a very important person. My name is Jacqueline, and your guide this morning. Why our drive is important? If it's up to me, ladies and gentlemen, we'll sit in the bus, enjoy the air conditioning. I can tell you everything about the island and the stops we're visiting today. But of course, I know you would like to really go and visit the stops. Yeah, so thank you, Raif. for doing this tremendous job.
The capital of Curacao is Willemstad, and we were in the area called Otra Banda. It's a very busy and popular section of Willemstad. Downtown is located here. You'll also find the cruise port, lots of places of interest, a mall, a fort. There's also a very special landmark, which we're looking at right now. This is the Curacao Baseball Wall of Fame. It's a mural that was placed directly on Riff Fort Stadium, paying homage to all the past and present baseball players who come from Curacao. Otra Banda is where you'll find most of the brightly colored colonial buildings and homes that Curacao is most known for. And there's also a famous bridge called the Queen Emma Floating Bridge. It connects the Willemstad neighborhood waterfronts of Otra Banda to Punda. When I visit Curacao again in the future on a longer trip, I'm definitely going to explore this area in a lot more detail, like with a walking tour. There seems to be so much going on and a lot to see and learn here. There's another famous bridge that's much bigger but not very far away from the Queen Emma Bridge, and it's called the Queen Juliana Bridge. More about that a little later in the video. The streets are very narrow and reminiscent of streets in small European towns. You can't miss the beautiful multicolored Dutch colonial architecture all throughout the streets of Willemstad. There's an interesting story behind the colorful buildings. During the 19th century, most homes and buildings were all white, and the governor at the time decreed that all the houses should be painted colorful pastels because, get this, the reflection of the sun coming off the buildings gave him a headache. Since this is a historical tour, what better place to make the first stop than to a museum full of art and history, the Curacao Museum. This is the oldest museum in Curacao, and it focuses on art and cultural history of the island.
Okay, local plants. Here to your left-hand side, the mesquite tree. Anyone know what the mesquite tree is?
It's good for barbecuing.
Yes, you do use it for barbecue, yeah, so you know very well the mesquite tree, yes, very well. The mesquite tree, the tamarind tree, tamarind, yeah, we see the fruits hanging on the tree. Yes, we make juice, we make sweets with the tamarind and the Asian chicken. They make sauce, yes, not very pure sauce, it's just the juice and the sweet. The lignum vitae, this evergreen, it's a beautiful tree, and with the trunk, part of the trunk they make also vessels, yeah, sailing ship. The trunk is so hard and it's also water resistant that you can make also. We used to have a shipbuilding industry in our harbor, so we use the trunk to make it. So those are the most, yes, trees that we see in the garden. The museum, yes, let's walk a little bit here. The museum is housed, as I mentioned, in an old military hospital from 1853. So it was built as a military hospital, yes? And since 1948, the museum is open and they use the building. The garden, so there's several items. You can see sculptures. All the way in the back, there's a white building. There you'll see only a cockpit, and there they give information about the first airplane, a commercial airplane, a male airplane that came from the Netherlands over the Atlantic to Curacao. Yes, it has passed several ports, but there you can see the first that landed in 1934 on Curacao. We're gonna walk into the museum. I'm gonna walk with you. Yes, very quickly. Please watch your step. Yeah?
Did you guys catch what Jacqueline said? She said quickly. So that means this is going to be basically the Cliff Notes version of walking through this museum. There's probably going to be a lot of things that we'll miss, so we'll just have to take in as much as we possibly can in this short time. I'm already impressed by the furniture, the detail, the artwork. Everything is gorgeous.
This is how they used to furnish, yes, those monuments in the 19th century. We see very big furniture. Yeah, that's typical in the old time. Everything big, bronze. Beside the furnitures, we see also contemporary artwork, yes, of artists, local artists, and artists from Europe, the Netherlands. Also the walls, so check it out. So as you're walking, look also at the local art. Check out the paintings on the wall. So we see the grand mirror, the chandelier. We see the dining table with dishware, English dishware, and all the furnitures were made out of mahogany wood, made by our cabinet maker. Yeah, we have very good cabinet makers on the island, and cabinet maker was one of the trade very high on the list. So we see beautiful details within the furnitures. Why they use mahogany? Mahogany is a wood that's very strong, and as the cabinet makers say, you can work very easily with it. And it is resistant to the heat and the termites on the island, yes? So that's why mahogany was used in the old time.
If you've watched my past cruise videos where I covered other historical and food tours, you know that I'm a sucker for architecture. I couldn't get over the size of the rooms, the height of the ceilings, the detailed intricacies of the moldings and doorways. Absolutely stunning work.
This organ is connected to a very special carillon outside. If you walk outside, you can see it. If you play the piano, you can hear the carillon, a carillon of 47 bells. And we have the options and several songs for When the Saints, When is a Pumpkin, and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So let me play it so we can hear it.
All right.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Somewhat like that, yes? You heard it. Some old artifacts. This is the calabash. Yeah, that's a local fruit on the island, very hard. It's green when it's hanging on the tree. And it can grow in several sizes. A middle big one, very small, or very big. So this is also calabash. We used to make a musical instrument. Any idea which musical instrument?
Maracas.
Maracas, very well, yes. Clean it up with a stick, put the seeds of the calabash or rice, and you have your maracas. They also make a spoon to take water from the well in the old time, and a very big one. They will cut it in half. The men who work on the land use it as head covering to protect their head against the sun as they're working on the land, or it can become a bowl. Yeah, so the same in your country, I believe. Yes, our elders didn't throw anything away. We talk a lot of recycling, but our elders, that is what they did. They had use for everything. These are also, this is a stick, just from nature, and it is a mixture they used in the old time. Yes, to make the okra soup, to make bean soup. Yeah, so that was a mixture in the old time. Just a stick. And it is also a stick used to stir the funchi, the polenta, yeah, the boiled cornmeal. And it was also a disciplinary stick, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, and children, so grandma had it in the kitchen. You don't behave yourself, you will feel the funchi stick. Yes. We will move to the traditional kitchen. In the old time, all the kitchens were painted this way. Dark background with the polka dots. Yeah, that was typical in the old time. Yes, we're gonna check the kitchen and look at these beautiful old artifacts we see.
Jacqueline went into more detail about the color of the kitchen. The dark red color was to help ward off negative or bad spirits, while the white polka dots helped to reflect the sun coming from the windows to make the kitchen brighter. Remember, there was no electricity back then. Although there were so many parts of this house and property that we didn't get to see, this was still just a cruise tour. So I would highly recommend that you come back and visit this museum independently, because there's so much to see and learn here. I pretty much feel cheated and shortchanged, and I understand it's just a cruise tour, but this is a museum that you want to come back to and explore with a fine-tooth comb if you want to, at your own pace, where there's no pressure, and that way you really get an appreciation for all the art and history that's here. Curacao isn't that much different from Aruba in that there are many parts of the island where it's hard to believe that you're actually in the Caribbean, with the exception of some of the tropical plants. It looks like it could be in the middle of Arizona, Utah, or California even. To the left of the frame, you'll notice the mountain peak that happens to be the highest point in Curacao, which is called Christoffel Mountain. And in the foreground is the Jan Thiel Salt Flats. This area is special because it's a popular place for hiking and bird watching. And this happens to be the first time I've seen flamingos not in captivity. On the way to our next stop, we passed a very interesting and oversized piece of art. If you can believe it, the artist who created this piece made it completely out of car bumpers. We also passed by the Curaçao International Airport, which is in the capital of Willemstad. Second stop is the Hato Caves.
Before we enter the cave, you have just a few basic rules. They are the simplest ones. Don't touch anything, don't break anything, and don't take anything home. This cave that you're going right now is a commercial cave. All ours it is protected by the government, and we would like to protect the nature. What do I mean specific with nature? Is the bats that we have. We have bats, they are protected by the government, so that's why inside the cave, no picture, no filming. Will be whatever, will be 2 rooms that you will be able to, and I will show you where. I promise I won't forget about it. So we behave. Yes. So right now we are going 49 steps up.
Those steps were pretty steep, but we got up with no problem. I wish I could have filmed the entire cave. You would not believe the beauty in that cave, but we were only allowed to take photographs and video in a very specific section of the cave, which is this one. Our tour guide, Shiny, was great, and she shared some really interesting facts about the Hato Caves. For one, bats live in this cave, and luckily we didn't see a single one. And the most interesting fact she shared is that during the early days of slavery, escaped slaves used to hide in these caves and live in the caves for months at a time. Now just think about it. The caves right now as they are well equipped with electricity. We can see our way, their paths, but just imagine what it was like way back then when the escaped slaves had to navigate these caves. The Hato Caves was definitely my favorite stop on this excursion, and I highly recommend that if you ever visit Curaçao, whether by cruise or flying in, you must check this place out. Totally worth it. Remember earlier in the video I mentioned the Queen Juliana Bridge? Now that we're headed back to Outra Banda, we have to cross the bridge to get there. And a peak height of 185 feet above the water level gives you clear views of the surrounding communities of Outra Banda, Punda, and Shotgat. Our last stop of the tour was to the Senor and Company Distillery. According to the company's website, they offer premium, authentic liqueurs, and their traditional Curaçao liqueurs are crafted with the finest ingredients according to the original Senor recipes and distilled to perfection in a copper still. I'll leave the link to the website in the description box below, but during the tour, we got to see a lot of the equipment used, and they actually had a copper still on display.
Left only a few minutes. Okay, we saw the images after distillation. This is original liqueur. They produce also the blue curacao, the orange, the green, and the red. The blue curacao is the most sold and most exported. They all have the same taste, orange triple sec. Why different colors? Sorry? Exactly, yes. So you can make different cocktails. Yeah, you can mix with different other liqueur to make beautiful cocktails. That's why. And with the blue curacao, you can make much more cocktails. Yeah, that's why this is much more exported. These are the new variants: tamarind, chocolate, raisins, and coffee. Yeah, these are the new variants with flavor. Orange taste. These are flavor, and this is the latest edition. That is the super. Okay, alcohol level. The original one, 31% or 60 proof. With flavor, 25% or 50 proof. The super, 40% or 80 proof. The very strict here, we have to be 18 years and old to sample and taste, yes? For the young ones between us, have ice cream and smoothies, yes? We go to the table. We can sample the blue curacao, also the tamarind and the chocolate. I suggest taste one of each so we can compare them with each other, yes?
Now you know where the popular blue curacao triple sec originates from. Well, of course, the company couldn't stop with just liqueurs. They also use the orange peels to make a citrus-based skin refresher and moisturizer. Jacqueline said that you can spritz it on your skin as you need it whenever the weather's hot and sticky. Finally, we get to do a taste test of 3 of the liqueurs that we saw earlier. First up, I tried the classic blue curacao triple sec. Okay, first we're gonna try the blue curacao. This is so good. You can taste the orange. Very good. Next, I tried one of the newest additions to their lineup, the tamarind flavor. This one I'm really excited for. Okay, now we're gonna try the tamarind. Tamarind. I already know what tamarind tastes like, but I've never had a tamarind liqueur, so let's see what it tastes like. This is nice. Very smooth. It has just the right amount of sweetness. Very good. Last but not least, another one of the newest additions, the chocolate flavor. This should be interesting. Okay, now we're gonna try the chocolate liqueur. This I've never had before, so let's see what this tastes like. Oh man. This reminds me literally of an alcoholic Tootsie Roll. Yeah, you can smell it before you even taste it. This is nice. Out back, there's a seating area and a bar where you can order a number of drinks and cocktails made with all these different liqueurs, including Mai Tais. Inside, you'll find all the duty-free liqueurs available for purchase, as well as trinkets and gifts. This excursion definitely goes up neck and neck with the Hato Caves. This was great. We ended up purchasing the classic blue curacao triple sec as well as the tamarindo. That one was so good. Back at the cruise port, we spent a little time browsing the street vendors and we picked up a couple of souvenirs before we headed back onto the ship. Of all the islands that we visited this cruise, I feel like I felt more of a connection to the culture here in Curacao. I can definitely see myself coming back to Curacao, visiting for like a week outside of a cruise, staying at a resort, and getting a true and authentic Curacao vacation experience. Let's jump right into the excursion rankings. The best one, hands down, Curacao. Just like I mentioned before, Curacao, I felt the most comfortable. I felt the most connection to the culture. Curacao overall is very visually appealing and it felt very inviting being there. Aruba was okay. It wasn't the best, but it was okay. I think the hardest part about Aruba was visually, I had a very hard time connecting the unusual terrain, the vegetation, all the cactus and the rocks and desert areas. I had a hard time connecting that to being a Caribbean nation. So that was a little bit weird for me. I didn't get much of a connection to the culture, but I'm definitely willing to give Aruba another shot. As far as Grand Cayman goes, Grand Cayman has beautiful resorts. That's pretty much all I can say. It felt weird. It felt like something was missing from there. I didn't get that cultural connection. And as far as the excursions go, it was nice, but I just feel like there was a little bit too much driving between each stop. So outside of a cruise, I would consider Aruba for a second visit. As far as Grand Cayman, I'm not interested in returning. Curacao, I love you. I will be back. Can't wait to visit again. Well, everybody, this brings us to the end of part 1 of my cruise on the Celebrity Reflection. Remember, this is a 3-part series, so make sure you're subscribed and you tap the bell notification so you don't miss Part 2. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope this video was both enjoyable and informative. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And until the next video, see ya.